From Pod World headquarters, this is the Carolina Insider from Learfield.
We're back. Time for another edition of the Carolina Insider. Jones and Adam here with you. Now, I've been thinking about this. Adam, for the last several hours, I've been pontificating in my mind whether or not this is the right play. I think it's the right play. We hadn't had it in a while. Adam, long time. Been a long time. Probably more than a year, maybe more than 2 years. Adam, I think it's time, though, that we bring out Sad Friday.
It's Friday, feeling down Friday. Tyler's looking forward to the next game. Friday, feeling down on Friday. Tyler's looking forward to the next game. Practicing. Roy says run. Looking forward to the next game.
That was the right move.
Feels right.
Yeah, it does. Well, we will look back at that Pitt game. Just a devastating defeat for Carolina in a lot of ways. We'll look back at that. I know you're excited to do so, both Adam and you listening. We're going to go one direction with our guest today, but we've decided to pivot.
Pivot.
We will instead bring you a bunch of guests today, a little bit shorter interviews. We are going to talk to, I don't know what order this is going to go in. I'm just going to tell you the order of who we're going to talk to, but I don't know if necessarily the interviews will run in that order.
So you'll have to guess.
Yeah. Scott Forbes, Tar Heel head coach for baseball. Baseball season starts today. Tar Heels hosting Seton Hall in Chapel Hill. We talked to Coach Forbes for the video pod earlier this week. We'll carry the audio of that. We have Annika Yarlagadda from the Carolina women's tennis team. Just won the ITA Indoor National Championship for the third consecutive year. Fourth time in 5 years and sixth time in 10 years. We talked to Annika about her team's success. She won the winning match in both the semifinal match and the winning point in both the semifinal match and the championship match against NC State in the semis and then Oklahoma in the championship. So we talked to Annika about all of that. And we're going to Gym Corner. Elizabeth Culton from the gymnastics team joins us as well. The Annika interview is actually going to be on the video pod next week, so you're getting a little sneak peek. So, Adam, we're going triple guest. Coach Forbes with baseball starting today. Annika Yarlagadda talking tennis, ITA Indoor National title. Elizabeth Culton goes to Gymnastics Corner.
What a bonanza.
Busy. We have a 5-second challenge. We have an 82 story. Adam has a list and more. All brought to you by LS Tractor. Don't let your outside chores or projects cause you to miss any Tar Heel game action. Whether you need to mow it, till it, or move it, let LS Tractor help make short work of it. You know the offer. Loader with the tractor. lstractorusa.com to learn more. LS Tractor, now you can do more for less. Adam, it was not good on Wednesday evening in the Smith Center. Carolina just didn't have a lot of oomph at the beginning of the game. In the middle of the first half, Pitt got hot. Pitt is not a good shooting team. They average making 5 3-pointers a game. They made 10. Carolina could not put the ball in the basket in the first half. Shot just 27.5%, 3 of 14 from 3. Pitt pushed Carolina around with its physical nature, and it seemed to bother the Tar Heels dramatically. And it was just a very poor performance in total from Carolina. The Tar Heels made a push in the second half, really made two pushes early in the second half, felt like they were getting some momentum, cut it to 13, and after trailing by 17 at halftime. And then all of a sudden, Pitt got a 4-point play, banking in a three-pointer, a bad foul by the Tar Heels. Then Carolina was able to get it to as low as 6 in the final minutes, intercepted a full-court pass, had the ball, but turned it over after that and never really got much closer after that sequence in the final minute or two. And, Adam, it felt like every issue that this team has came to light in this game. When they have an off shooting night, they have a hard time responding. We've seen it. I mean, that isn't a blanket statement. There have been some times, the BC game and some other times where they didn't shoot it great and still won. But I think for the most part, they've had a hard time winning if they haven't shot the ball well. The physical nature in which Pitt played defense, while Pitt is not as talented as some other teams like Duke and Kentucky who have played physically and aggressively against Carolina, Miami, another one. Pitt followed that same formula, and the Tar Heels couldn't handle it. Hubert Davis was extraordinarily frustrated after the game, and it was just a bad night. That's the short term. The long term, as far as this season is concerned, while the Tar Heels were not in A1 position, they were certainly in the mix for the ACC regular season title. I mean, if they won that game, they'd be a game behind Duke and Notre Dame with still 5 games remaining. So, again, Duke and Notre Dame were in a better position than the Tar Heels, but it wasn't out of the question that the Tar Heels could do that. They are not out of the running, but the loss certainly takes them a step back. They now, I think, as far as the league is concerned, need much more to worry about trying to get in that top 4, and really probably 4th, because you've got Notre Dame and Duke at 12-3, Miami at 11-4. All those teams hold the tiebreaker over the Tar Heels. Carolina's 10-5, and then you've got Virginia and Wake at 10-6. So, bigger term as far as the season is concerned, there's that issue. Bigger term as far as the season is concerned, it really hits a big-time blow to Carolina's NCAA tournament hopes. The Tar Heels were lacking for quality wins. What they did have is they didn't have any bad losses as far as the opponent. Now, we've seen they've had some significant margins in some losses, but they didn't have a loss to a bad team. They now have a loss to a really bad team as far as the metrics are concerned. I do think Pitt is playing better. I think getting Ithiel Horton has made their team a lot better as he's given them a consistent outside threat, which they did not have before he settled some legal trouble that allowed him to return to the team. So the Tar Heels now have a really bad loss on the resume, and with even just the one really bad loss, when you add that in with the lack of high-quality wins, that's a problem. And then you go to the even larger picture of, Hubert Davis didn't mince too many words about what he thought about Carolina's performance, the reputation that he felt the Tar Heels had, and that's something that's got to get adjusted. And whether that's adjusted this year or adjusted in the future, it's got to change for the Tar Heels to be able to achieve at the level that they in the past have been used to achieving but have struggled to achieve over these last 3 seasons.
Yeah, big picture, it's mid-February. It's too late it's not going to occur to make this team something it's not. I mean, the things Hubert Davis described as being part of Carolina's reputation, that has been earned over a period of months and longer. And so I don't think it's reasonable to think the Tar Heels are going to wake up tomorrow and somehow be different, because that's not the first time Hubert Davis has brought that up or the first time he's asked his team to develop a different personality. This is that team's personality. And look, no matter how much you try to make that girl be something she's not. And that's so I don't think that's able to be solved. So that takes you to short term, just kind of the game itself. It was odd just because, and it wasn't any big surprise. I think we said on Tuesday's show, Pittsburgh's going to come in and try to push Carolina around.
Right.
Everyone knew it. It wasn't a surprise. That is what Pittsburgh is. But it just seemed like Carolina, for whatever reason, was not mentally prepared to fight back very much until they were already facing a 20-point deficit. And I do think you're right that the 4-point play really changed things because it felt like there was still time at that time for Carolina to make up that 13-point deficit. The turnover was with the 6-point deficit. That would have taken some fortunate bounces and a couple shots to go in. That would have been a little more lucky than good. But at that 13-point juncture, it felt like it was still doable because Pitt's not a powerful offensive team. They get most of their points from the free throw line, which they did a very good job of doing in the second half after they had gotten them from the 3-point line in the first half. But you just make a silly foul against a shooter who hardly ever makes that shot, but of course he banked it in. And it felt like that really took the wind out of the Tar Heel sails for a couple minutes until Kerwin Walton could miraculously appear and make a couple shots. I think he scored 8 straight points for Carolina at one point, but then didn't shoot again until there were just seconds remaining. So a frustrating night, and as Jones said, that was a loss you can't have on your resume. It's taken the Tar Heels from, I think, presumptively in the tournament to presumptively on the bubble at best. And now you've got to go win some games. That's the only thing you have to win some games. The Virginia Tech game that it would have been nice to win on Saturday, you pretty much have to win that game. Again, we're not dealing with the Gonzagas and the Auburns in terms of who you're competing with to make it into the field. So these other teams they're going to lose some games also. But I don't think the foolproof, let's have the Tar Heels make the tournament plan can be, maybe they'll be slightly less middling than everyone else. Don't depend on everyone else losing. Carolina needs to go out and win some, and they absolutely didn't on Wednesday.
Turnovers a problem in the first half for Carolina. 10 of them that led to 20 points for Pittsburgh. And look, Pitt, I think, played at probably about its full capacity in the first half. It shot 60%, 6 of 9 from 3. That's more. I mean, again, they averaged making 5 threes a game. Now, they were also getting a lot of open threes. I mean, Ithiel Horton's still standing in that left corner wide open, and he made all 5 of his 3-point shots. So, yeah, I mean, adding him, that's the 5 they normally make. Then he's back with the team, and he makes 5 more, and that gives them 10. They made their free throws. They made some key plays. I mean, I'm not trying to discredit Pitt because I think they did what they needed to do to win the game, which was hit some shots, have the Tar Heels not hitting shots, play physically, get some lenient whistles, all those things, get Carolina frustrated. All those things happened, and they made it happen. So I'm not trying to say that Pitt didn't do anything to win the game because obviously the Panthers did. The much larger issue is the Tar Heels and the fact that Carolina could go win on Saturday. They can win that game. They've already beaten Virginia Tech once. Virginia Tech's playing better. They've won 6 in a row. Carolina can win that game. Tar Heels can beat Louisville on Monday. But, Adam, what's to tell you that then this Tar Heel team isn't going to show up again? That's the thing. It's that the first half against Pittsburgh, we've seen it. It was the first half against Kentucky. It was the first half against Miami. It was the last couple minutes of the first half and first couple minutes of the second half against Wake Forest. It was the first half against Duke. We've seen this. And so we said this, I think, on Tuesday of it felt like the Tar Heels were doing some better things, but, and here's the but, is that this is in there, and it's come out several times this season. This is the first time that it came out against a team that you felt like the Tar Heels were much better than, as compared to the Tar Heels were about equal with or slightly below. And that's what makes this one, at least in my opinion, so much more frustrating, is that you had that half against that team in this circumstance, and that's hard to bounce back from.
Yeah, I think it was Armando Bacot who said a couple weeks ago that this Carolina team had the unfortunate tendency of curling up in a ball on the road when things went bad. This was the first time it really felt like they had curled up in a ball at home. I mean, Duke was playing great. They would have done that to a lot of teams on that night. I'm not sure you can convince me that Pitt would have done this to a lot of teams that night. I mean, you had to go back in the history books to find a halftime deficit like that for Carolina at the Smith Center against this Pitt team. There's been a lot of good teams that have come in the Smith Center and not been up 17 on Carolina at half. And when you start looking down the road this season and you try to come up with these permutations of, well, what would Carolina have to do to make the tournament? I think you can come up with a number and say, is Carolina capable of doing that? And in your mind, you're thinking of like Carolina like you think of. Yes, they could do that. Could this Carolina team do that? It would likely mean winning all 4 Saturday, Monday turnarounds. Those are tough to win for good teams, the Saturday, Mondays. Carolina's got to do that this weekend, going to Virginia Tech and then playing Louisville. And then they've got to do it next weekend also, going to NC State and then playing Syracuse. Good teams would feel like 3-1 in that stretch is pretty good because that's a lot of basketball, a lot of preparation for a lot of different types of opponents. Well, 3-1 now for this team would not be good news. So I think that's concerning, but I also kind of think that, like, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the week. I think the NCAA tournament discussion is almost kind of missing some of the point. If you get into the tournament, what are you going to do? And that goes back to, like, this team needs to figure it out. They have earned the reputation that Hubert Davis described. Are they content with that? I mean, you can't get much more clear than one of your former lettermen prancing around the court calling you names. And I don't necessarily have a problem with what he said. I think that was fine to say in the locker room. Everyone knows that's what was being said. We said it before the game that that's what Pitt was saying. All he did was say it on the court, which was in very poor taste and was a very bad move and was not appropriate. But he was saying things we all knew were being said behind closed doors. Well, now you know. Now it's out there. That is what's being said. You heard it. Are you content with that or not?
So the Tar Heels play Virginia Tech 4 o'clock on Saturday. We'll be on the air at 3 o'clock again. Virginia Tech's playing better. They've won 6 in a row. Had a win on Monday against Virginia. And Keve Aluma's playing well. Justin Mutz is playing well. They are a really good three-point shooting team. Hunter Couture, in particular, has really been shooting it well from the outside here as of late. So, and it'll be, Adam said this many times, Castle Coliseum's a hard place to go play. It just is. It's loud. They're intense. Fans are kind of right on top of you. It's one of the harder just environments to go play in. And so certainly the way things are lining up don't make you feel great. Tar Heels are down. Virginia Tech is up. Very difficult place to go win, but the Tar Heels have to have it. So we'll see how they respond coming up on Saturday afternoon.
I think Carolina will play much better on Saturday. That doesn't in any way guarantee a win, and Virginia Tech's had a long week to get ready. and they're still stinging a little bit from losing in Chapel Hill. But I just can't imagine a scenario where Carolina comes off that performance against Pitt and doesn't play markedly better.
Reminder, we're brought to you by StubHub, easiest way to experience every Tar Heel game. Check the virtual view, score your seats, get your tickets delivered instantly. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Tar Heels. StubHub, be there. All right, we'll take a transition to our interviews. Triple interviews here. All right, we're just going to go in the order that I mentioned earlier. So we're going to start with Scott Forbes. Head baseball coach. Diamond Heels start this weekend, 2-day, 3-game set against Seton Hall, starting off the 2022 campaign, coming off an NCAA tournament appearance last year, trying to take a step forward. Then you'll hear from Annika Yarlagadda, Carolina women's tennis, 3-time indoor national title, coming off that latest one earlier this week, a victory over Oklahoma in the championship match. Tar Heels beat Ohio State, Virginia, NC State, and then Oklahoma to win the title. And then we'll go from there to gymnastics, talking to Elizabeth Culton. So all these are a little bit shorter. I think Coach Forbes and Annika are both around 10, Elizabeth Culton right around 20. So these aren't super long interviews. So we'll have them all together. Then we'll come back. On the back end, we have 5-second challenge. We have Adam's List, 82 story time, a little vacation from life. Got that fire sparked the other day. We're going to bring it back. So all of that coming up after all the interviews here on the Carolina Insider.
Look, we've all been through a tough couple of years, and we just need something a little comforting to make us feel better. That's why Scott Forbes made sure that the Diamond Heels open with Seton Hall again this year. First time since 2015. Thank you for that breath of fresh air that just makes me feel better about my life.
Yeah, no doubt. Seton Hall, we opened up with them, I think 6, 7, 9, maybe about every year we've been to Omaha. We pretty much opened up with them. So I was like, you know what? Good opponent, great coach, good guy. And they're good. You know, they always have some good arms that they're going to throw at you. So I'm excited to be opening up at home and being at home quite a bit throughout the season.
That is because we're talking baseball, because it's about time for baseball season. And we're, of course, with the head coach of the Heels, Scott Forbes. Coach, tell us a little bit about what this offseason has been like as you are here right at the cusp of the beginning of your year.
Yeah, it's been a great offseason. You know, besides the fact that these guys have about 50 days on their own when we get through with the fall, and we've made so much progress, you just have to hope they come back and they're ready and they're in shape, and this group definitely did that. That was clear the first week. So, you know, like anything, if you've been through something, until you've done it, you haven't done it. So going through it last year, also having COVID, you know, I feel like we're at a little bit better place also with COVID, with the guys, it's not as much on their mind, and we can go about our business, you know, and the guys are going to school, so that's been refreshing for them as well.
No matter how prepared you are, it's complicated to be a first-year head coach. And then you add in everything from last year, it's very, very complicated. What kind of things did you feel like you learned last year that'll help you this year, and also that you're kind of glad you won't have to deal with this year?
Yeah, definitely glad we don't have to deal with, you know, not knowing who we're going to play, basically, until about a month and a half before the season started, trying to set up your schedule. And we got a schedule where we never really had a true home stretch. It was James Madison, then we had Virginia, and then it was away, home, just the entire year. So I'm looking forward to getting a little more, you know, normalcy as far as the schedule, knowing we're going to play a certain amount of ACC teams, and knowing that, like we normally do, unless we take a trip, you know, we're going to be at home some, which is great for us and for our fans. And I would say the biggest thing that I learned was as a head coach, you can't let all the stuff that you have to get done as a head coach affect what you need to be doing on the field. And that needs to come first. And I feel like that's been the case. We spent a lot of time, you know, reflecting and talking about that as a coaching staff and saying, okay, first thing we're going to do every single day is talk about our team, plan our practice, then talk about recruiting, and everything else will just fall into place.
Tell us a little bit about this year's team. What are some things that you're excited about? What are some things that Tar Heel fans should be ready to see?
Yeah, I'm excited about, we returned a lot of guys that got a ton of experience, and some of them didn't. It was their first year getting experience, especially the freshmen last year that played anywhere. They missed their high school season. They missed summer ball, so that was really, eye-opening experience for them. But getting some, guys back that are really good leaders like Danny and Angel Zarate and Gage Gillian and Caden O'Brien. There are some advantages to a shortened draft, but those guys all could have signed, but they wanted to come back, and they wanted to come back for the right reasons. They want to help us win and get back to Omaha. So, and I'm excited about the depth that this team potentially could have, especially on the mound.
In 2022, with transfer portal and all sorts of stuff, how do you balance building a program versus, hey, I could fix this problem right now with this guy, and figuring out which one's the right one for this particular team?
Yeah, that's a great question, because culture is extremely important, and you win with culture, but you also have to have talent. So I think you have to pay attention to the transfer portal, and we've had success with transfers in the junior college ranks, so we've stuck with that as well, but we've also been really selective in that process. So we've done the same thing. We try to do the same thing in the portal, and we feel like, for us, we still feel like a huge part of our program is development, and we have to trust that we're going to get really talented young kids, and we're going to stick with them, and they're going to work, and they're going to get better. And if we can, maybe find one or two, max, 3, 4 guys that can come in and offset a year where you lose some older players, like we're going to do this year, that are going to play every day, that can help you not have to play 7 freshmen. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a little bit harder in baseball than it is in basketball, because it's just such a different thing, facing 95 miles an hour, which you don't see all the time when you're a high school kid.
Well, you look at the ACC and it's stacked, as it always seems to be every single year. How big of a challenge is it to go through that every single weekend while you're trying to find your identity as a team?
Yeah, the league only keeps getting better. Years back when all the way back my first year back here, there were some teams that you felt like, okay, we're going to win the series, or we're going to possibly make up some ground and get a sweep. Right. It's not the case anymore. It's really not the case in college baseball across the board. Teams are better because of the transfer portal. Even teams midweek are going to play a lot, have more transfers, and they remain older. But you really have to, in baseball, you can't get caught up in the highs and the lows, because the season's so long. You play so many games. And I thought last year was a great example of that, because a lot of the teams that ended up being the 8 teams in Omaha, they didn't have great starts. And it's just a matter of, keeping your head above water and then playing really well as you get down the stretch. Because in the ACC, the wins and losses, they're a base hit here, strikeout here, the little things.
How do you convey that to some of the new guys who may have hit 500 in high school or something, and you have to explain to them, you may go 0 for 15 and still have a good year?
Yeah, that's one of the main things we do, is drag kids through failure as coaches. Probably one of the most important things we do, because it's such a sport that you fail so often. But it helps when you do have a team full of guys that have been through it and maybe have had some struggles. And y'all going to talk to Danny, and he struggled the first half of the year. So if there's a young guy, you can be like, hey man, here's how I think you can get through it. And also those guys seeing maybe some older guys that are ultra talented, that know how to perform, realizing, okay, this is what it takes. It's not just on the field. It's in the weight room. It's taking care of your body off the field. But just we're honest about it. We tell our guys all the time, like, you're going to fail. Just accept it. Especially offensively, you're going to fail more than you succeed. So how you deal with that failure, and can you get up there in the 9th inning when you're 0 for 4 or 4 Ks like Jacob Stallings at Virginia and hit a home run? The guys that can do that earlier usually get on the field earlier as young kids.
Scott, you've been around championship level teams at Carolina on the staff, teams that have won the ACC, gone to the College World Series. Are there any pieces of this team or characteristics of this current team that you go, you know what, that's something that we need to be able to succeed to that level?
Yeah, Rob Wooten spoke to our team yesterday, which was really good, because Rob was a guy that kind of went through different phases. And, one of the questions was, what was the biggest difference between 04, 05, and then 6, 7, 8? And his greatest point was the number one difference are the players in the locker room. How is the locker room? Is everybody pulling in the same direction? Is everybody all about the team before they're about their individual goals? So that's the most important thing. And I do see that in this team. Danny could tell you more about it than me because, I was a player, and it's still the players pretty much control that even when we're not there. But I do see a lot of similarities in our 2011 team. I know we just celebrated that team at the first pitch banquet. Just because, we slipped in. We didn't slip in, but we found a way to get into a regional last year. We really earned that regional, honestly. We definitely didn't slip in. But the 11 team, you could tell they were hungry when they came back, and we had lost one of our best players, unfortunately, who we thought was going to be back. But this team returned a core group of guys and then a really good recruiting class with 4 transfers that are going to help us. You could just see it kind of evolve, and that they have some pretty hefty goals. They're not paying attention. And that team also wasn't preseason ranked. But I see some similarities in those two teams, especially from the toughness standpoint and the potential pitching depth that we could have.
One of our favorite things to do on the Carolina Insider is to talk to national champions.
Champs.
But luckily, there's a lot of them around here on campus, and the brand newest one is right here with us, Annika Yarlangata, who had an incredible weekend in Madison, Wisconsin with the women's tennis team. Annika, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
What was your weekend like at the ITAs?
I mean, it was just amazing from the beginning to the end. We got there on Tuesday, and we were all so excited. It's a completely different team from last year. We're all a lot younger, and we knew that being the defending national champions, we had a lot to live up to. And I think every day we worked really hard, even in practice, and we were really excited for the tournament. So.
Okay, so this is 3 straight indoor national titles, 6 times in the last 10 years. I know you weren't involved with every one of those.
Yeah.
But what is it that allows that type of consistency? This isn't just one title, which in and of itself would be awesome, but to be able to do it so many times, how does that happen?
I give it up to the coaches. I mean, they do a phenomenal job of training us every single day, just working on exactly what we need to do to be okay in those really tough moments. Mm-hmm. In those final matches, that's the deciding match, just telling us and knowing how we are. Honestly, getting to know who we are as people. For Ty to tell me what to do on that final point, he has to know who I am, and just really getting to know us and our game styles and making sure that we're ready for those big moments.
Yes, so Annika got the match-deciding point in the semifinals against NC State, then the championship against Oklahoma. Do you know it's down? Do you know that if you win it, you guys win? Do you know that, or are you not aware of it?
At the moment, no. In that final match, I had no idea that it was up to me, because I just know what's going on next to me, and that's Carson and Fiona. And Fiona won, and then Carson was battling, and I was like, I'm not the last match on, I'm good. So I just kept doing what I was doing. I just kept playing point by point, and I honestly think that helped me, not knowing that I was the last match on. But then when Carson finished, and everyone started piling on my court, luckily it was 40-15. And it was the last point, so I was okay, but I had no idea.
What was it like to have that moment when everyone's running to you?
It might have been the greatest moment of my Carolina tennis experience. Winning that match for your team and everyone that's put so much time and energy into this sport and this championship, it was surreal. It was amazing.
Okay, can you settle a long time discussion and argument that Adam and I have had? How important is the doubles point?
Very important.
Yeah, see? Okay,
right.
big time, double
very
point, important.
Very important.
Okay, but you guys came back from losing the doubles point a couple of times. Does it see, okay, so for folks who don't understand, you play doubles, so there's 3 doubles matches. Whoever wins 2 out of the 3, you get a point. Then there's 6 singles matches. You're trying to get to 4 points as a team. So if you do lose that doubles point, does your mindset have to change at all?
A little bit. We kind of all look at each other and we're like, we got this. We got to step it up. Every single person on that court needs to fight no matter what. And we lost that doubles point against UVA in the beginning, and I think that really helped us when we lost that doubles point in Oklahoma, because we already lost it before. We knew what we had to do. We knew every single person in the singles lineup needed to step it up and stay in every match as long as we possibly could.
Sure.
Yeah.
What's your journey been like with Carolina tennis to get to the point where you were on the court to clinch that national championship? Because you haven't played as much over the last couple of years and probably had opportunities to go elsewhere, and you wanted to be a Tar Heel, wanted to be part of it. Why so?
I mean, I haven't really gotten the chance to play in the lineup in the past couple of years, but last year there was a match where 2 of our starting lineup players couldn't compete, and it was against Georgia. And that match, I was the last match on the court, and it was my first real experience of that, like, stress and pressure. And I got through it with the help of my coaches and my teammates. So after that happening this year, I was ready for this. I was ready for whatever was like gonna get put, and I was excited because I haven't gotten that chance. So I just took it in and just had fun with it and just made sure to be positive, and I was smiling the entire time. I was just so happy to be there.
What is and this is a little similar to the question I asked you earlier, but what is the culture like on this team and this program? Because as you mentioned, you guys are a little younger in total this year. Some athletes who have been big parts of Carolina women's tennis have graduated. What's kind of that culture, not just this year, but how does it carry over from year to year? Does that make sense?
Our seniors do a really good job of instilling everything that we need to do, like professionalism, everything that we need to do to be that #1 team and a national championship winning team, and it carries over. Every senior, they take that job and they do an amazing job at it. Our seniors this year have done so good at just making sure that we are doing everything that we have to do every year, so yeah.
We had a tweet last week about build Brian Calbus a statue on campus. Why is he so good? What makes him such a good, not just a coach for one team, but a program builder?
He gets to know the players. He really cares about the person over the player. And it shows, it carries, and he makes sure to tell us just to have fun every match and to leave all the hard work and everything that you've done in practice and go to these tournaments and enjoy it and enjoy the experience. And I think that's why we do so well, because we're always laughing. If you see us, we're always having a good time. We're always laughing. Our hotel rooms and our experiences are amazing. So I think he just does a great job.
Okay, you told us before we started, plane ride back from Wisconsin, Oklahoma was on the flight too. Was that weird?
A little bit, but I mean, it happens. I felt a little bad. I mean, it's really hard. It was their first time at National Indoors, and they competed. They really brought it to us. We had to give everything we had to win that match, and that coach did a fantastic job, so we had to really give it to him, but I did feel a little bad for them on the plane ride. That really sucks.
Okay, so Carolina mentioned, 3-time indoor national champion in a row, 6-time indoor national champion in the last 10 years. That success, unfortunately, has not carried over to the outdoor title for the NCAAs. And Tar Heel's been so close in the championship match, in the semifinals every single year, it feels like. How do you get over that to get to that title?
I think this year we realized that we need to step it up after this tournament. NC State was a really eye-opener for us, and also that Oklahoma match. There's a lot of things that we need to do to be able to win this NCAA championship that Coach knows, we know, and I think this team, we're really excited. We really want it. Every day we give 100% in practice, and I think we're ready to get over that hump this year and really strive for this NCAA title.
What's the difference in indoors and outdoors? I understand the notion that one is played
some of them
indoors
are indoors
and one is played outdoors.
outdoors.
How does it play differently?
Well, obviously the factors of the wind and the sun, those are just, normal. But indoor tennis, I think, I've just grown up playing indoor tennis my whole life, so for me, I prefer it. Outdoor tennis, I think it takes a lot more out of you. It's really straining. There's a lot of factors going into it, so I think it is a little bit harder than indoor tennis.
Now, Annika clearly is a very talented tennis player. However, I have it on high authority that you are one of the worst puzzle putter-togetherers in the entire world.
It's really bad.
Why are you so inept at that particular skill?
I just have never been taught it. I don't know. I remember that trip to Wilmington. McKenna might have told you about it. I couldn't. I was trying to put these 2 yellow pieces together, and they were different shades of yellow. And I was like, oh my God, I got it. And everyone's like, no, nowhere near. I wasn't even trying to put the pieces together. I couldn't even get the colors together. It was so bad.
So look, if a title's on the line in a puzzle competition, maybe Annika's not the one that you want out there. But on the tennis court, Yes, we know she can lock it down.
Oh my gosh.
Annika, again, congratulations
Thank
to
you
you,
so
to your
much.
team. Look forward to seeing you guys compete all
Thank you
season
so
long.
much. Thank you for having me.
Another national title for Carolina women's tennis.
Watch your head, Jack. Watch your head, Jack.
I have never been more extraneous than I am today. Gymnast Elizabeth Culton is here. Jones is here.
Yeah.
I'm mostly just in the way. You two just talk about gymnastics. Go.
No, I'm super excited. Elizabeth, what's up?
Not a lot. I'm excited to be here. Thank you
Jones,
for having
Jones has been counting down the days
No, I have
until
been.
we got to talk to you.
I have been. I am, as if you are a regular Carolina Insider listener / watcher, you know that I lead the gym life as a gym dad, and we've got a real life big time gymnast joining us here.
A real life gymnast.
Yeah, woo, everybody. So Elizabeth Culton is joining us. Elizabeth, first of all, thanks so much for being with us, and just take us a little. Obviously, there's been a lot of movement here with Carolina Gymnastics. Had the interim head coach last year, brand new head coach this year. What have these last couple of years been like for you, for your team, with all these different moving parts that have been occurring?
Yeah, there's certainly been a lot of change. I've actually had a different head coach every year I've been here so far. So, yeah. But things are going really well. Dana's done a phenomenal job coming in and taking over the team. And I think all the girls have adjusted really well, too. But she's been a great leader and really taken over things well.
So we talked to her, to Coach Durrani, a couple weeks ago. She didn't seem like she was messing around. Like, she seems like she's ready to hit the ground running. Has that feeling kind of gone through the team here?
Oh, yeah. She's the definition of a go-getter. I mean, if she wants something done, she gets it done. And that's something I really like about her. She just kind of goes for full force at whatever she wants. And I think that's one of the things that makes her a really great head coach.
She made it pretty clear that she was going to push y'all maybe a little even further than you thought you could be pushed. In what way have you seen her do that, and how has that made the team even better?
Yeah, I think she's really focused on the details, which is obviously really important in gymnastics. Little form things, just the details on every skill. And I think that nitpickiness has really been helpful. And I think that's part of maybe what she was talking about when she said she was really going to push us.
So I have been touting gymnastics as just like an awesome sport to watch. Like, I mean, it's just a fun, it's 2 hours. You know what's happening. There's always a bunch of activity. Can you sell gymnastics to listeners real fast? Just about how fun it is to come and check it out.
Oh, it's so fun. The energy is just so high, especially at college gymnastics meets.
It really is. There's a lot of celebration.
Big celebrations. I mean, that's like half the meet.
Yeah.
It's like celebrating the routine your teammate just did, and that's one of the things I love about it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's always something going on. There's not a lot of downtime. It's really an engaging sport. So I definitely would recommend coming to a gymnastics meet.
You ready for a dumb gymnastics question?
I'm ready.
So one of my favorite things to watch when I'm watching a meet is when somebody's on the floor and all her teammates are like standing over on the side and they're all doing like what she's doing. That's so cool. How do you learn all the different floor routines to like mimic all the stuff? I like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Each of us kind of has a unique part of our floor routine that like kind of just everyone catches on to. And so there'll be like a few poses that we all kind of do. And it helps, you know, it makes it fun, but it also really helps the person performing. You know, you feel like your teammates are there with you, you know, doing it with you. So that's a lot of fun. And we actually had a teammate kind of go viral recently for imitating one of our teammates in the background of a routine. She was on the women's ESPN TikTok or something like that. So, yeah.
You see, I mean, here's the thing, Adam. You see, like, you know all the floor routines, right? Because you guys see each other practicing, so you hear the music over and over again. Like, how do you pick your music, by the way?
A lot goes into it, actually. In the past, I've had coaches pick it for me.
No, that doesn't seem like that's the way to do it.
Sometimes it's kind of like you give your coach suggestions.
Right.
Sometimes both, there's input from both sides. But Like this year, I sent Marie a few things I really liked, and she was able to like mash together a few different songs. So I just kind of told her what I was interested in, and she put it together. And
now, am I right? You got like the Hells Bells and the Can't Beats Stop Touched. You'd think I would know that since I did that matchup for the video at Keenan. But like it's kind of like the fourth quarter thing for football, right?
I love it. I've been wanting that for years, and I couldn't figure out a way to like incorporate it into my routine, but she did a great job putting that together. But yeah, I know. I almost feel like I stole it from them.
No. It's open. It's open for everybody.
Oh, sure. Now you don't want a TM.
Yeah, that's right. No, we're not TMing that. Not for Elizabeth.
Have you ever thought about doing a routine to Friday by Rebecca Black?
I can't say I've ever thought about that. I don't think that's on the table for me.
Just put it in your back pocket for later, just in case.
You telling me the crowd wouldn't love that?
They might. Maybe I'll have to consider it.
Her voice said they might, and her face said no chance.
So you are big time on the beam. Like you could just take us through the mindset when you're on the beam. To me, that seems like the most terrifying thing possible.
Sometimes it is. The interesting thing about beam is it's such a mental event, especially compared to the other three. And I think that's one of the things I like about it. It's one of the things I love about it, one of the things I hate about it. Because, when you're not in the right mental space, it can be really difficult. But when you're on a roll, that's when I enjoy it. But, yeah, I just try to get in my zone when I get on the beam and kind of block everything else out, which is really important specifically for beam. But, yeah, it's one of my favorite events.
What's your least favorite event?
Vault.
I was going to guess vault.
It's definitely vault.
Yeah.
Why?
I just struggle with it the most. But I like all four. I can't, But if I had to pick one, it would definitely be that one.
Right. So, okay, what was, as you were coming up through gymnastics, what was the most difficult thing for you to learn how to do, which now seems pretty basic? Was it like a cast handstand? What kind of thing was it that was really tough to get past, but now it's super easy to do for you? No big deal, Adam. That's just a little gym talk.
Yeah, I need to write the glossary on my hand.
I'd probably say my kip, maybe.
Really?
Which is one of the most basic skills.
Yes, it's hard, but so much is based off the kip on the bars.
Right.
Yes.
I mean,
it's like the foundation of all your bar stuff, right?
It is.
Yeah, thank you.
You're absolutely right.
So for people who aren't gymnastics experts, what's a kip?
What is a kip?
It's basically
we need like video for this part. It's hard to explain.
But you're getting yourself to a point where you're kind of on top of the bar, resting on your hands. So you go from underneath the bar to
and you kind of kip
being
up.
upright.
Both
Right?
Jones and Elizabeth just did a kip, and
In our
Elizabeth
seats.
was a little better
in our
than Jones.
seats. Yeah, she gets a 10-0. Mine's, I've got a few deductions on mine. So take us through what this season has been like so far. You guys have had a ton of success. I know you've got some freshmen involved that are having great years too. Just take us through kind of what this year's been like so far for the team.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Like you said, we have some really great freshmen, and they've come in and helped the team a lot, especially Julia and Lolly. One of the things that stands out to me is their confidence. You wouldn't know they're freshmen. They look like seasoned veterans out there. And that's been really exciting to watch. But we have a lot of different personalities, and everyone brings different strengths to the team, but I think we work really well together as a team.
Adam and I have talked to athletes in like golf and tennis and asked this same question. Your sport is an individual sport, and yet you are competing as a team. How do you try and balance that, I guess, of like you want yourself to be successful, but ultimately you're trying to win team events? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. In my mind, when I'm doing my routine, I think in my mind I'm doing it for my team. The individual successes are kind of like a nice bonus. That's kind of the way I think about it. But ultimately, it's a team sport, especially in college.
Sure.
And that's really the main focus.
Jones mentioned how hard gymnastics is on your body. Like, what's the most painful injury or like thing you've had to deal with?
I'd say I've been really lucky in that I haven't had a lot of major injuries. I'd say I've mostly had to deal with overuse injuries. So I don't know what my answer would be to that question.
I feel like gymnastics is something where you have to deal with like something's kind of aching all the time.
You're right. You're exactly right.
Yeah, sorry, Jones. I'm also a trained gymnast.
Okay, so my daughter is 13 and is a big gymnast. So I asked her to give me some questions to ask you so that I would sound super smart. So are you ready to get grilled?
I'm ready.
So these are from Caroline, my daughter.
TM.
Yeah, TM. Do you focus on learning skills faster or taking a longer time learning them to make sure that you do them with clean form?
I'd say the latter. I think it's really important to take your time, learn it the right way with the right form, rather than rush it and just, get the skill to get the skill. It's important to be able to do it correctly. And yeah.
Do you ever have any big mental blocks?
I've definitely had some before. I wouldn't say I've had big mental blocks as much as just being scared of some skills in the past.
I was going to ask you, like, how do you get over that? Because I do think there is a certain point in gymnastics where, like, what you're doing is scary, and you can do it. Like, physically, you and other gymnasts are talented enough to do it, but they are scary things to do sometimes. How do you get past that point where you just kind of are free and allow yourself to try and do it and not be worried about negative consequences?
I think the most important thing is numbers, just getting the reps in. And you kind of just got to push through the moments when you're scared, because it just takes getting those numbers behind you, I think. Doing it successfully enough times to the point where it's second nature and you're not second guessing yourself.
Have you ever had a nasty fall?
Oh, I've had a lot. Yeah. Split the beam.
Ooh.
Hit my head on the bar. There's been some scary moments, but
like how Liz was like, oh yeah, I hit my head on the bar that time. That was terrible. I split the beam. That hurt for days. Other than that, no big deal.
It's part of the sport, though.
Okay, I've got, what does everyday conditioning look like for you?
Ooh, I'd say it's a lot different now in college than it was in club. We'll do weights a few days a week. And in those days, the conditioning's definitely lighter in the gym. And then they change up our conditioning quite a bit when we do it in gym. But I'd say we do rope climbs a lot, leg stuff, squats, pull-ups.
I am convinced that gymnasts pound for pound are the strongest athletes. Like pound for pound. Because y'all, for the most part, are little people who are super strong. Right?
Yeah. I'd probably agree with you. I mean, I don't know the answer to that question, but we do have to lift our bodies up, on the bar and stuff. We're moving or flipping around.
Okay, I've got, when did you start doing gymnastics?
I've been doing it since I was a toddler. I did the little gym. I did like mommy and me classes at little gym. But I didn't start doing it competitively until the age of 8, probably.
When did you realize it was something you were, like, I mean, were you like going to these events and just crushing people, or like, how did you realize you were good at it?
It's funny you say that, because my mom and I were looking back on older videos recently, and I didn't look great in the videos, but at the time we both thought I was great. She was like, I thought you were amazing. And that hasn't always, I mean, maybe that's just, how a parent sees a child.
Sure.
But, I don't think it's always been the case. I'd say probably when I started doing optional gymnastics, which is level 7.
Right.
Probably, 12, 13 is when we kind of realized that I was pretty good.
You guys were at Alabama a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
That was awesome. I watched the whole thing. No big deal.
I did too.
So what?
That looked like a pretty cool environment, though.
It was a really cool environment.
Yeah. What was that like?
It was a lot louder than I thought it would be. We started on beam, and Alabama was on vault. And every time they did a big vault, the crowd would go crazy. And I don't think I realized how, I've never competed in an arena that big with that many people. So it was definitely a shock, but it was so much fun. Like that energy and that, having all those people there, it was a really cool experience.
Is that distracting when you're trying to do something and then there's this big burst of cheering, but it's not for you and you're in the middle of like trying not to hit your head on the bars or something?
It is. And that's something you have to get used to. But yeah, it can make a routine a lot more difficult when there's distractions like that in the middle.
I guess it's not polite to just ask everybody to be quiet because you're trying to do hard stuff.
Right.
Do you feel like, do you hear the crowd at home? Because I do feel like, I'm not saying Carolina Gymnastics is where it wants to be ultimately from that perspective, but I do think there's been some progress made in that way. Do you hear the crowd when you're doing, like when you nail something, do you hear it? Do you feel it? Or are you trying to block all that out when you're performing?
I wouldn't say I'm actively trying to block it out, but I'm so focused on what I'm doing, I usually don't hear it.
Right.
Yeah.
You mentioned your mom. You've got some pretty deep Carolina ties. For people who don't know, tell them a little bit about your Carolina background.
Yeah. So my grandfather was the athletic director from, I believe, 1976 to 1980. Both my parents went here. Both my brothers went here. I've grown up a Tar Heel fan. I was born and bred a Tar Heel for sure. So, yeah.
What is your first memory of like cheering on the Tar Heels?
I think UNC basketball games. I just remember sitting in my living room watching UNC probably as early as like 7 or 8 years old. And my brothers and my family's we've always been big Tar Heel fans. So we'd always have games on in the house. So I think that's probably my earliest memory.
What was your path like to being able to compete for Carolina? I'm guessing that was your first choice. How did that whole process go?
Yeah. I've wanted to be a Carolina gymnast since I was young, probably 8 or 9 years old. And I would come to the meets growing up, and I vividly remember sitting in the stands at one point and watching them and wondering to myself, like, am I good enough? Will I be good enough to be a gymnast here? Because I genuinely I didn't know. But I think there was a point where I was like, well, I'm going to do everything I can to, put myself in the best position. So, I worked really hard to get here, and this was actually the first college I visited. And Derek Galvin, the coach at the time, he didn't officially give me an offer, but he told me he'd hold a spot for me on the team. And I had no idea what to expect going into the visit. So I was just blown away. And I think my parents were too. But at that point, I went home and I had other visits lined up at other colleges, and I called the coaches and I canceled them because I was like, this is where I want to be. And yeah.
What do you think you do really well? And then you mentioned that you're, I'll say, least confident on vault right now. What needs to get better on vault?
I think I need to get more numbers under my belt, just landing on the competition surface. I'm actually not in the vault lineup right now. I'm just doing bars, beam, and floor. But I think just doing more vaults to that competition landing, I've been doing them to kind of a softer landing. But yeah.
What do you do really well?
Which event?
Yeah. Just anything. Like you're like, I'm the best lander out there. I don't know anything. And I have another question before you answer that. How do your knees not like explode every time you land? Like to me, that would be really difficult.
Yeah, we do a lot of drills, landing drills. I've been doing it for so long. I think, at this point, you kind of mastered the technique. And most are, we have mats we're landing on and stuff. Sure. So it looks, yeah. That first question, that's a hard question. I don't know what, stands out.
Evidently, be modest. What she does best is be very modest. How cool is it that you grew up wanting to be those Carolina gymnasts that you were watching, and now that is you, and other girls are looking at you going, I wish I could be that one day. Like, do you ever get a second to stop and think how cool that is?
Yes, it's amazing. I mean, especially, when little girls come up and ask for autographs or pictures, I see myself in them, and that's a really great feeling. But yeah, sometimes I just have to take a step back and just recognize that, because I get so caught up in, going to practice every day, going to class, just, my life's really busy. And recently I've had the opportunity to kind of just really think about it. And sometimes I'm like, wow, this is insane that I'm able to, it's such a blessing. So
what else is left for you guys this year? What's important here moving forward for not just you individually, but for the team as you go through these next couple weeks?
Yeah, we're about at the halfway point of season. We're going to NC State on Saturday, so that'll be a really good rivalry meet. And then we have our last home meet next week against West Virginia, and that's senior night. And then a couple more away meets. We're going to Georgia, which will be another really cool environment to compete in. And we have our conference championships, Eagles, and, regionals, and we're going to, go as far as we can in the postseason. I'm really looking forward to it.
Interviews brought to you by the Independent Insurance Agents of North Carolina. Texting while driving takes your eyes off the road for about 5 seconds. And at highway speeds, that's like driving the length of a football field with your eyes closed. Trusted Choice Independent Insurance Agents of North Carolina want you to stay safe behind the wheel. Put down that phone while you're driving. Let's have a hands-free NC. To learn more, find an agent near you. You can visit trustedchoice.com/goheels. Adam, you are in the hot seat today.
I'm ready.
Your energy level seems like you're ready.
I exude readiness.
Adam, we're going to the Diamond today.
Wow.
For our 5-second challenge.
Seton Hall.
Adam, this question does indeed have to deal with Seton Hall.
Okay.
For whatever reason, and you heard us kind of joking around with Scott Forbes about it in that conversation, the Tar Heels and Seton Hall have met one another a bunch to open seasons. Now, here's a little backdrop. Adam and I first started doing the radio on a consistent basis as a broadcast pair in the 05 season. 05 baseball. So, Adam, from the beginning of the Jones and Adam doing the radio era, 2005, to now, 2022, Carolina has opened the season with Seton Hall 5 times.
Is that all?
Yeah. Adam, you have 5 seconds to try and name the seasons in which the Tar Heels opened their campaign with Seton Hall. Your 5 seconds start now.
2015, 7, 8, 11, 13.
Okay. You said 15.
I feel real good about
7,
15.
8, 11, and 13.
That's right.
Okay. I'm actually impressed that I was able to remember the years that you said.
That'll be your 5-second challenge next week.
Adam, you got 3.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
First season in this time frame that the Tar Heels hosted Seton Hall, 2006. Of course, the Diamond Heels made it all the way to the College World Series Championship Series that year. That was not one of your answers.
Nope.
Next year was the next year, 2007. That was one of your answers, Adam. Carolina opened with Seton Hall and again made it to the championship series of the College World Series. I'm going to tell you, there was a lot of baseball being called in those days. I mean, those were long seasons. That is one thing about baseball. Like, I'm going to it now. 2006, the Tar Heels, by the way, that year, swept Seton Hall. Wow, it's 21-2 in the Sunday game. Sometimes that happens.
Pirates ran out of pitching.
Adam, last game called June 26th.
You're almost at the 4th of July.
Yeah. 2007, Tar Heels again, as we said, open with Seton Hall. Let's see.
I think sweep. It's a sweep.
Tar Heels won 54 games in 06, and they finished 2007. They were 57-16. It's not bad. Not only did they sweep, it was pretty convincing. 11-0 on Friday, 3-2 on Saturday, 13-2 on Sunday. Tar Heels then went on to the College World Series. Okay, 2013. Also a correct answer by you, Adam. The Tar Heels were 59-12 that year. Ooh, that's good. And they ended up playing just 2 of the 3 games against Seton Hall. One of the games got canceled. See, whenever Seton Hall shows up, it gets rainy, too. That's
right.
Tar Heels won the first game 1-0. Then Saturday was canceled. Then they won 17-2 on Sunday. And eventually made it to the College World Series. I still think, Adam, you and I did not call those games that year. That was first year right after we were done. That might be the best Tar Heel team out there. I think 2008 and 2013, in my opinion, are the 2 best Tar Heel teams in the last, certainly I think they can argue ever, but in the last 20 years, I think those are the 2 that are the best 2.
And that's with the full understanding that 06 and 07
right.
made
actually
it to the
went
championship
went
series.
farther, or further, yeah.
But I do think that if you put Peak 08 on the field against Peak 06, I think Peak 08 got a good chance.
You're kind of saying pico there,
Yep.
like the salsa. How did you know 2015? You were so confident with that one.
I had just looked it up to see when the last time was Carolina, so that we could talk to Scott Forbes.
Yeah.
When the last time was the Heels had hosted Seton Hall.
So it was indeed 2015. This was not a year that the Tar Heels had tremendous success. They were 34-24, and in fact, this was the year that they were the first team out of the NCAA tournament. But they did start with 3 wins over Seton Hall, 7-1, 10-4, and 9-5. And then, Adam, the one you missed this year, 2022.
Oh, I didn't know that counted.
Yeah, sorry, Adam.
Yeah, I probably would have gotten that one if I had thought about it.
But you did well. 3 of the 5, and one of that you missed is you just didn't understand the rules.
Well, now I'm frustrated. I feel like I could have done even better.
That
was low-hanging fruit.
Today, that's what's frustrating you, Adam? May we all live as blessed a life as Adam does.
What's wrong, honey? I'm really miffed about that 5-second challenge. Could have done better. I could have gotten 4 out of 5.
So, go check out the Diamond Heels. They're in action this weekend. And beautiful day on Thursday. It's supposed to be relative. I was a little concerned about some rain. I think that is lessening. Games are 4 o'clock on Friday, 2 o'clock on Saturday, 1 o'clock on Sunday for the Tar Heels and Seton Hall. Then Carolina hosts Elon on Tuesday. And then, Adam, East Carolina, and first 2 games in Chapel Hill, 3rd game in Greenville?
Well, and that was originally like Greenville, Chapel Hill, and then the 3rd one was in Greensboro or somewhere like that.
Right.
And something didn't work out with facilities, so they've switched it, and so it'll be 2 in Chapel Hill this year, and then next year they'll play another 3-game series. There'll be 2 in Greenville, 1 in Chapel Hill.
So that's been announced that they're going to, the second weekend of the year for the foreseeable future, Carolina and East Carolina are going to play one another. East Carolina, and again, I'm not a pirate expert, but I think baseball is the sport in which East Carolina is the most nationally competitive. They are, and we certainly know East Carolina's had good football at times through the years, but they traditionally have a very good baseball program, and would expect them to have a good one again this year. And those are always intense and fun matchups. And
they'll be loaded with guys who had some sort of interest in North Carolina coming out of high school.
Okay, Adam, all that baseball schedule talk can lead us to our Champions Watch. Tar Heels out on the courts and fields and diamonds this weekend. Adam will tell us who's playing where, and it's all brought to you by UNC Health, dedicated to caring for champions of all kinds to help keep you in the game and at your very best. You can see their lineup at unchealthcare.org/sports.
The one set of ACC championships this weekend is swimming. The swimmers will be down in Atlanta for that. Big wrestling match on Friday. Carolina goes to number 4, NC State. That is at 7 o'clock tonight. That's on the ACC network, so you can watch the grapplers. Women's lacrosse goes to Florida. They open the season really strong. Men's lacrosse hosts a good Ohio State team. Men's lacrosse also opened the season very strong. Women's gymnastic goes to NC State. I mean, we're in the heart of spring sports getting started up while winter sports are finishing up. So there's always something Tar Heel related going on. Women's basketball goes to Florida State on Sunday. Softball's down in Florida. If you can't find something Tar Heels you like this weekend, you're not trying very hard.
Adam, before we get to your list, I wanted to read a DM that we received from Charlie Manilakis. Charlie sent us a DM and said, first and foremost, what up, Jones, Adam, and quote-unquote, Miles. He said, just wanted to thank you guys for slipping in the vacation from life theme into today's pod. Charlie was sitting in traffic after a long day, already enjoying the appropriately in-depth and affirmative discussion on the power of lucky hats, to which Charlie said, side note, if you go where you go and do what you do doesn't include wear what you wear, I don't know what else it possibly could. I agree with that. Charlie says, the moment that we were all treated to that familiar little vacation from life ditty, he could just feel his blood pressure drop with each cheerful strum and was instantly transported to a place with no work, no I-77, nothing but more Tar Heel victories on the horizon to look forward to. By the way, I-77, not a fun drive.
No. It should be somewhere in Atlanta. Like, that's where it belongs. That's where its home would be.
Yeah. So, Charlie, this one's just for you. Let's all take a little vacation from life. Adam, I kind of feel like we all need a vacation from life.
I agree.
I do.
Yeah.
I need one right now.
Yep.
Adam, it was not a good night in any way, shape, or form for Carolina basketball on Wednesday, but there was a great moment, and that came at halftime when Wes Durham, who was our guest, of course, on Tuesday, Taylor Durham, Gene Durham, and Wes's wife, Vicky, all out on the court, and they were being recognized for the official dedication of the Media and Communications Center that we were talking about, with Wes officially dedicated as the Woody Durham Media and Communications Center. And Adam, it was just a great moment. It was great. I went over before the game and said hello to Gene, Woody's wife, to Vicky, and to Taylor. Of course, you and I both spoke to Wes on Tuesday, briefly talked to him a little bit before the game as well on Wednesday. And they were just all, especially Gene. And it was impactful for everybody, but especially Gene. She was just so happy and proud and was so honored what was happening for Woody. And it was just a great moment. And it was great for them to be there. I hate that the game went the way that it did. But it was a nice moment for them. It was great to see the Durham family. And it truly was a vacation from life in the middle of what was not a very fun evening for the Tar Heels.
Yeah, life wasn't great right at the moment we had that vacation because Pittsburgh had built this 17-point lead. But you're right, it really did seem like it was impactful. And when Woody was doing the games, there was nobody who was a bigger Woody Durham fan than Gene.
That's right.
So to be able to see her be able to go out there in front of everybody who loves their family so much and was so happy to see them and see how it impacted her, just thought that was great. And great as always to see Taylor and Wes and Vicky also. So that was pretty much the true definition of a vacation from life. And then unfortunately we all had to go back to life.
But so great to see them again, as we talked about on Tuesday. No-brainer, well-deserved honor, and officially now the Woody Durham Media and Communications Center in Chapel Hill. Thank you again to the anonymous donor who helped make that happen and honor Woody.
What's the appropriate abbreviation now for this building? Like when I'm writing it in an email, what do I write?
That's a great question. I actually have thought about that because, like, for example, there's the Ernie Williamson Athletic Center.
The EWAC.
And everybody calls it the EWAC. So this had kind of been known as the MCC, although I can't say that it really caught on. Like you may say we're at the MCC, and some people will go, "What? What's that?"
Right.
So I don't know. Is it the Durham Communications Center? That's kind of what I think it might be. But then you also get the confusion just by happenstance that Woody's last name was Durham, and you're in Chapel Hill, and so you go, "What? Are you in Durham?" And you're like, "No, it's Durham for Woody Durham." So I don't know. I think that is still to be determined.
Do you think in a couple years there's a chance we might just be telling people, well, the studio's over there in the Woody building?
It could be.
Maybe MCC goes away and it's just the Woody building.
Yeah. The Dub D MCC. That's like a little rap almost.
Yeah, that one doesn't quite roll off the tongue. I think it might be the Woody building. Everybody knows him as Woody.
That's true. Yeah, it's not like that. Yeah, that's a good point. He was very much known by the first name.
And the Woody MCC, the MCC is not that important. It's the Woody building.
We're just going to have to see where fate takes us, I think, on
That's
that
right.
one.
You never know.
You can't give the nickname, as we know, it just happens.
Right. You can't give it to yourself.
What it becomes, only time will tell. Adam, we did get one more DM that I wanted to mention before we got to your list. And this one came from Wesley Lindsay. He said he hasn't heard any updates on Lil Casio in a while. And don't worry, Lil Casio's doing great. Helping me bang out those numbers for the Tar Heels on a game-by-game basis. I bet Lil Casio's really excited to update those stats after this one. But what Wesley Lindsay said was, just wanted to make sure you knew about a Casio product called the Casio QL10. And he actually sent us the advertisement from this, which is kind of an old, I mean, what, Adam? Got to be the 80s, right? Old-timey 80s.
Whoa.
Yeah. So the Casio QL10 looks like a magazine ad from the 80s. This is electric. The Casio,
Totally.
Yeah, the Casio QL10 is a combination alarm clock, calculator, and lighter. Wesley Lindsay says, I really don't know what else you could ever need in life after purchasing this device. Wake up, have a smoke, do your taxes, all with one device. What a find here by Wesley Lindsay. The Casio QL10 calculator, alarm clock, and lighter. It was like Casio was, they were knocking on the door of the iPhone, really, back in the day.
You were right there, Cassie.
Yeah, it's like, what else would people want in their fingertips? It's not Casio's fault that they didn't know about the internet yet.
Right.
Or texting or any of that. They were just playing to the market that was available to them. And again, we're guessing here the 80s. It was right there. People need the calculator for the calculator purpose. Alarm clocks never go out of style. They will forever be needed. And so some marketing genius was there in the boardroom and was like, guys, yeah, alarm clock, calculator, I agree. But what can really set us apart is if we make this bad boy a lighter too. Now, here's a question I have. How do you refuel the lighter?
Right. It almost sounds a little dangerous.
Hold on. Okay, let's see. The Tar Heels were 4 of 26 from 3. Hold on, guys.
Yeah. It gives a whole new meaning to puff pass.
So, what a find by Wesley Lindsay. Thank you, sir.
Do you think Wesley Lindsay had one of those?
Did anyone have one of these?
The guy in the picture?
Adam, I would think if the Casio QL10 combination lighter, alarm clock, and calculator was super popular, we'd have heard of it before.
The guy in the picture looks every bit like James Bond.
He's got a little bit of hashtag so classy going on.
Yeah,
he's wearing a suit.
He's at the height of technology.
Yeah. He is. He's probably on Wall Street.
Yeah. He'd probably been crunching some numbers.
Yeah.
Had a stressful day, and he's like, the only way I can get any relief from this is with a Marlboro.
The ad itself says, Casio, first again, with the new combination compact, a calculator, an alarm clock, and a lighter. Casio QL10.
Can you imagine the meetings at Sony or something after this came out? Were they all like, oh, Casio beat us on this one?
Guys, Casio's first again. I want to be angry about the advertising, but it's true.
What if we put a pocket in the calculator where you can put your tin of skull? How would that be? That's all the things people want together, right?
Man, what a find. All right.
That's American innovation.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know that Casio is necessarily an American company, but that item was come up with in America. I have absolutely no doubt.
Okay, before we get to Adam's list, let's take a smoke break with our Casio. Listen to an ad. Adam, how about your list?
What's on the top of Adam's list? Brought to you by Top of the Hill, where Tar Heels come to celebrate.
Many people wanted to let us know, and specifically, honestly, it was me.
Yeah,
who blew it.
Yeah, they really were after you.
And has really upset a lot of people not knowing that 50 Cent was upside down in the original video. And that is why he was upside down at the Super Bowl halftime show. A lot of people also had thoughts on whether 50 Cent belonged in that group. I told you earlier this week, he didn't feel that way in my heart, but that my wife had said she thought so. Nate Kelly came strong with some knowledge for me. He feels he can answer some questions I had about the halftime show. Nate loved every second of it as it was the superstars of hip-hop while he was a youngin'. 50 Cent was upside down because he was performing his song, quote, says Nate, in the club.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I got that part, Nate. He was recreating the music video. He has to say my wife is right. He was most excited about 50 Cent. 50 Cent was massive from 2003 to 2009-ish, and most definitely belongs with the others as legends on the stage for people of my age. Nate is 31. 50 Cent would have been number one on the rapper rankings list for longer than Da Baby or, and I think Nate meant to write Lil Baby, but it corrected to LOL Baby, which I think should be like the third baby in the baby triumvirate, like Lil Baby, Da Baby, and LOL Baby.
You need to, when this season is over, Adam, and you're kicking back with your Casio calculator, you need to get the rappers of the game list updated.
Yeah, it's probably time to update that.
You hadn't done it in a while.
We'll do that after the season.
We were down by the urinal last time you did that.
Dr. Dre signed Snoop Dogg to his record label, then Eminem, then 50 Cent. So all those guys worked on or collaborated on projects together as they were all on the same record label. So that's Rap Corner.
Kim said she cannot rest until she knows that Adam knows that 50 Cent was upside down as a throwback to his original music video.
Good news, Kim. You can rest now. I think that was post my prime. Well, it was post my prime video time.
A couple of things I wanted to mention real fast that we received on Twitter, because I don't want to. I know your list is still going, Adam, but Taylor sent us this tweet and said that he visited the LS Tractor site after the pod today, which we encourage everybody to do.
Sure.
And he found his way to lstractorgear.com and wants to know how we can get them to sell merch in Carolina Blue. I think that's an awesome idea.
They've got, I like some of this gear. I had not seen this site until Taylor sent it to us, and they've got some sales going on, Jones.
Yeah, free loader. Don't worry, that pod gear is coming any day now.
Yep.
Any day now.
Yep.
We received a tweet that attached is a pic of my lucky hat. It's an original The Game bar hat from the 80s. Everybody had these hats.
Yeah, did you have this hat?
Well, this hat carried over. If you close your eye, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the white hat that had the bar. The Tar Heel one just said UNC, and then it said University of North Carolina underneath it. But it had everybody had one of these hats. And it was like this hat, this style of hat, that lasted well into the late 90s, too. I mean, this was a popular hat for a long time.
And I think might be coming back now because of exactly what we're talking about.
Very popular fraternity hat, like fraternity guy hat.
So I would obviously know about this.
Yeah.
It was available in white for Carolina. There definitely was a navy version that I think maybe I had, and I think maybe even a Carolina blue version. Charlie Bailey, though.
Yeah, Charlie.
He had the white one.
Yeah, I had blanked on because we just had Charlie's Twitter handle. I was like, wait a second, that's Charlie, but I couldn't think of Charlie's last name. So it's Charlie Bailey who sent us that. We also received an email, Adam, about some more lucky items. This one came from Jeremy Wolberg. And Jeremy sent us a picture of his lucky puffy basketball. He says his lucky item is this puffy Carolina basketball, and it's perfect because it's functional, according to Jeremy. He says, 1, it can be squeezed when a game is tense. 2, it can be thrown at the television when a ref makes a terrible call or the opposing team makes a dirty play, and he doesn't have to worry about it breaking the TV because it's soft. Or 3, it can be used for resting under his head if the Tar Heels are up by a large amount and the game is fully under control. I think those are some very valid points by Jeremy on a great lucky item to have, the puffy ball.
That's as multifunctional an item as the Casio QL10.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's got it all.
You can smoke and do calculations and wake up on time.
We got an email from Beverly. Aridi? That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Just Beverly to her friends. Beverly says she listened to the pod yesterday and was surprised that neither you nor Mike hit upon the reason why it was essential for him to wear his hat when he watched the recorded Florida State UNC game. It is clear to Beverly that when Mike set the DVR to record, he sent his intention to wear the lucky hat out into the universe. Clearly, the outcome of the game showed the intention was acknowledged. It then became essential for Mike to actually wear the hat while he watched the game to maintain his credibility in said universe.
Yeah, it's like Marty McFly has to make sure all the same things happen when he's back in the past to ensure that they happen in the future.
Right. When Beverly says it like that, it makes sense to me. Also got a tweet from Jason who wanted to know, at what point does a lucky item cease to be lucky? Do you wear it every game no matter what? Or do you pull a Roy and stop wearing it after a bad loss?
Did Mike wear the hat on Wednesday?
That's true.
I think that's a really good question.
I do too.
About when do things run out? Because there have been things that I have done in the past to try to bring luck that no longer are valid.
That's right. Well,
yet I think Mike's hat, it's been through so many battles that its overall winning percentage has got to be pretty high.
And it's got 3 championships.
Right.
4 championships.
4, yeah. So I think that hat has stood the test of time.
It's proven its worth.
Yeah.
Some of these other more fly-by-night items, for example, like if you start eating at Arby's every day to try to bring the Diamond Heels good fortune, that's probably just that baseball season thing. You wouldn't want to continue the rest of your life getting a roast beef sandwich.
No, I'd weigh 700 pounds.
Right.
And my blood pressure would be through the roof.
So I think there's things that come and go. They wax and wane with the season.
What were we
We had a stretch of like granola bars or something there for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, we did our part.
We did all we could do.
We did our part for the Diamond Heels. But I don't know when something goes from just a one season thing to something that carries weight for multiple seasons. I don't know that I have anything like that really, but I've had many in season things, but usually they end when the season ends. We got an email from Blake Salmony. Blake had an important leaky follow-up.
Oh, yeah. You hit the streets on this one.
Don't make a big deal about it. Blake says, question, did we ever confirm if Leaky got a fingernail on that last shot at Clemson? 8 question marks. Whoa. Inquiring minds want and need to know, says Blake. Blake, we immediately took your email right down to the Smith Center court. We stopped practice. This was after the Pitt game, so don't worry, we didn't cause the Pitt game. And said, Leaky, you remember that Clemson game? That last shot? Did you get a fingertip on the Clemson shot? And Leaky said, absolutely. He said, you can watch the ball, the way it spins changes a little. And he said he wants a block for that. Now, look, Leaky, the stat crew probably didn't see it.
Yeah.
Because they're far away.
Clemson scores table, you're on the list.
Well, and remember, Clemson had to correct their stats.
Yeah, they did.
From that game. But what they didn't do is give Leaky the block that he earned. So in our hearts, Leaky's +1 in blocks. couple pieces of news. Carolina's going to the PKI, both the men and the women, this coming November.
Adam will be there.
I will be.
I probably won't be there because I'll be with football.
And the football game that week is on Friday because that's a state game.
Same day as
and basketball is Thursday, Friday, Sunday.
Yep. Adam, I hate to tell you, but I will be here.
You missed the trip to Portland last time.
I did. I can't put a push pin in the map. I'd like to.
So both Tar Heel teams headed out there for that event, stacked as it was last time. All the Nike teams, except for Kentucky again, weirdly. Carolina's half of the bracket. There's 2 separate 8-team brackets, just like last time on the men's side, and it's loaded. So that'll be a challenge early in the year. Interesting story in the Athletic on the Alliance. We just talked about it last show or a show before. Ohio State Athletic Director Gene Smith, he's not as enamored with this whole Alliance thing and basically said, he doesn't really know if it's going to have any impact on football scheduling or not. He said if the Big Ten was going to do it, they'd have to go from 9 conference games to 8, and he doesn't want to do that. So he doesn't know that it's going to really impact football scheduling at all. He thinks it might be more about like a synergy of ideas.
We need more synergy for sure.
So we'll see how that works out. Congratulations to David Clawson. He's in the 100% club.
Wake Forest head coach.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this is a different Dave Clawson.
Probably.
And this Dave Clawson lives in Manio. He said he is a Carolina grad, 1982. Maybe Dave could send us in an 82 story.
That's right.
Never know. He said he's older. He also knows that his birthday, which is shared as the GOAT, Michael Jordan, back on, that was yesterday, February 17th. He said also shared by Jim Brown and Rene Russo. Well, that's a foursome that I would like to have to dinner, Adam. Jim Brown, Michael Jordan, Dave Clawson, and Rene Russo. I'm sitting next to Rene.
Well, he said you youngsters can look her up on the Google. You can find all kinds of things on Google, Jones.
That's what I've heard.
And then the last thing is we have new Skittles on the Skittles shelf. And these came from a far place away.
Yeah, hold on. I need to get the letter.
Okay. Yeah, they came with a letter. We've already added them to our Skittles Shelf of Honor here in Pod World headquarters. They came all the way from Kazakhstan.
Yeah, so Brandon Hartzell sent us these. And Adam, I mean, our Skittles shelf is really starting to get impressive. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe we're going to receive some more, another version of some Skittles here soon. I was talking to some Tar Heel fans at a game here recently that said they wanted to send us some. But Brandon sent us a note that said, enclosed are 2 packages of Skittles I bought for you while in Nur-Sultan, I'm sure I said that correctly, the capital of Kazakhstan. Thankfully, with the 11-hour time difference, he slept through the Duke game. So he talks a little bit about that and then says, by the way, I know both of your feelings on iPhone voicemail messages, but Jones read mine via Cameo. Cameo.com/JonesAngel. Cameo.com/JonesAngel. And that Brandon said he got a lot of nice comments about it. He said he's a 100% Pod Club member, listened to the Coach Davis shows over in Kazakhstan, and hope we enjoy the Skittles. He says, I think the writing on the package is Kazakh. I'm learning Russian, and some of the words are the same. Others are different. He thinks it is Kazakh. Full disclosure, he didn't try them, so he has no idea if they taste the same or are different. So, Brandon, thank you. So cool. Kazakhstan Skittles.
I think if I had to be somewhere on the day after Duke delivered a stern whipping to the Tar Heels in the Smith Center, Kazakhstan feels like it'd be a pretty good place to be because no one would know my misery.
Yeah. That's right. What did Coach Smith say? There's a billion people in China who didn't care if you won or lost the game.
That's right.
So, thank you, Brandon. Those were cool. Okay, Adam, we ready to end this up with a 1982 story time?
Yes.
Okay, this one comes from longtime friend of the pod, Dennis Goss. Now, Dennis's story is long. So we're gonna hit the Cliff Notes version here of Dennis's story about the 1982 championship and celebration. we're coming to the end. We may have one or two more, but we're getting right to the end of our stories from 82. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. We've had a bunch here over the last 2-3 weeks and really enjoyed it.
CarolinaInsiderPod@gmail.com. Look, if you're not footnoting, endnoting, and headnoting your story, you ain't doing it right, says Dennis.
Yeah. So understand that we will be taking some pieces of Dennis's story and bringing it to you. We're not going to read the whole thing. But Dennis's story, 1982, starts like this. What up, Mr. Goosehawkers? My roommates Mac, Travis, Scott, and I were having an awesome senior year. It was hard to believe our undergraduate years were ending. We had met as freshmen in Winston Dorm across the street from Carmichael Auditorium and had remained close friends throughout our 4 years. As seniors, we were fortunate enough to come back together in townhouse apartments on Hillsborough Street, which had the benefit of being really close to campus. Is that still around, Adam?
I think so.
So Dennis then talks a little bit about the season in 82. Fast forward here to the NCAA tournament. Says the Heels beat Houston in the semifinal, and the title game was set with Carolina versus Georgetown for March 29th. With the four of us, plus girlfriends, plus other close friends. Why don't you brag about having a girlfriend, Dennis? Plus other close friends and a few siblings thrown in, Dennis estimates they had around 25 people crowded around a 19-inch television that Monday night. Our tiny 9D townhouse apartment living room was crowded and, according to Dennis, was rocking. So, being the true Tar Heel fans that they are, watched the game, had the sound turned down so they were listening to Woody. They got to hear, of course, the famous words.
Fred Brown looking. Oh, way to Worthy. Worthy 5. The Tar Heels are going to win the national championship.
And it was joy. The team had delivered Coach Smith's first title after 6 previous Final Four attempts. Dennis and his friends were euphoric, hugging, high-fiving, screaming, dancing, reliving all the big plays. But, of course, the night was far from over. In less than 5 minutes from Woody's victory pronouncement, the guys had all filled their pockets with the remaining adult beverages, and our mini mob was off to Franklin Street to continue the celebration. With townhouse apartments being so close to Franklin, we got there fast and were among the first 1,000 or so on the scene. We made our way to the crosswalk between Carolina Coffee Shop and the NCNB Plaza.
You're over there close to Papagayos, Dennis.
Celebrated in the middle of the street, in the middle of the block. At this early point, there was just a lot of hooting and hollering, according to Dennis. In no time at all, the crowd grew quite dense, and we found ourselves shoulder to shoulder with other Tar Heel fans. The crowd covered the street from Franklin at Columbia all the way down to the post office. It was as if Mardi Gras, Oktoberfest, and March Madness celebrations all collided in the perfect storm of party mania. At least a dozen unfortunate souls had parked their cars on the street and left them there during the game while they had watched inside the local bars. Dennis is sure they couldn't believe their good fortune earlier that evening to find an open parking spot on Franklin Street, but once the street was jammed by foot traffic, folks went for a higher vantage point and climbed on top of those cars. Adam, I hate to report that Dennis reports that some rowdy guys rocked the cars back and forth as if they were trying to turn them over. The celebration seemingly had no limits. For other folks, throwing Carolina blue paint was the celebration of choice. Folks had painted their clothes, faces, hair, were trying to paint anyone close to them.
Including painter's pants.
That's what we've heard. A little handsy.
And jeans jackets.
There was blue paint everywhere. If there was a tree, it had been rolled numerous times with toilet paper. Somewhere Wake Forest approves. Firecrackers were exploding up and down the street. Coming from a small farm in Apex, Dennis had never seen anything like this type of celebration in his life. By now, our group had been separated in all the bedlam. My girlfriend and I decided to move towards the edge of the crowd. As we passed the sidewalk between Sutton's Drug Store and Four Corners Restaurant, we noticed a tree swaying back and forth. As we got closer, we said, "Is that Adam Lucas up there?" As we got closer, we observed that one celebrant had climbed onto a tree branch about 10 feet up and removed all of his clothes.
Sorry, guys.
Yes, without question, he was full Monty naked, according to Dennis. Rocking back and forth in the tree, standing on one branch while holding on to another.
Come on, Dennis.
Dennis says he was celebrating his way. As we reached the sidewalk adjacent to the University Methodist Church, which I hope that young man on top of the tree immediately went to on Sunday, we were in a somewhat safe zone now and had a great perspective of the masses from the periphery of the crowd. We stood there just taking it all in. What a great way to conclude my senior year, I thought. With so much adrenaline flowing from the game and celebration, Dennis was unable to get to sleep until around 5 a.m. The next morning, there was no thought of going to class. Dennis went back to campus to grab his commemorative copy of the Daily Tar Heel, which had run the headline in Carolina blue bold type, "Damn, we're good. NCAA champs." Is that right, Adam?
Yes.
I'm not sure I've ever seen that before, that DTH before.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you have one? Have you ever
I do.
seen it? You have one?
Yep.
Nice. The DTH reported the crowd size at approximately 35 to 40,000. And that local police were somewhat caught off guard and were understaffed that night. There were reports of some vandalism during the celebration. It's so true when folks say their college years were top of the list for the best times in their lives. Being a part of that 1982 championship celebration after Coach Smith's first NCAA title proved to be the ultimate exclamation point on his UNC undergrad experience. Great stuff from Dennis, by the way. He gave us a PS. That girlfriend he mentioned, still his wife and best friend 40 years later.
Tar Heels bringing people together. Also, PPS Townhouse Apartments, not still there. That's where Union is now.
Oh, wow. He really was close to,
Yeah.
really was close.
So didn't have to go. That's why he was one of the first 1,000 there.
So good stuff, Dennis. Can't wait for the story that we received from a guy who says, "I felt like I just needed to get naked and get up on a tree."
I was up there celebrating my way when these two unsuspecting people walked by and said, "Is that a tree swaying back and forth?"
Oh, Adam, anything else?
No.
Okay. Just what you wanted. We got a Pod After Dark coming next week. In fact, the next 2 weeks, we will have a Pod After Dark following the Monday games. So we'll have 2 games to talk about with you next time. Saturday at Virginia Tech, Monday against Louisville. And I got no idea. I got no idea what's going to happen in either one. Tar Heels could win them both. They could lose them both. We'll Pod After Dark and recap. Great guest. We have a couple guests already built up, so looking forward to bringing those to you over the next few weeks. So Pod After Dark, then a normal show on Friday, then another Pod After Dark, then another show on Friday, and then we'll see where we are, because at that point, get into postseason time.
Hey, if you're wanting to ask some questions to Brian Kersey, we're getting close to the time of year when Brian Kersey is going to join us for ACC Tournament Week. And traditionally, we ask him the questions, but I know a lot of people have mentioned this year they have questions about basketball officials or rules or whatever. Send those to us, and we'll ask some to Brian. So CarolinaInsiderPod@gmail.com, or you can tweet them to us or any other. You can write us a letter from Kazakhstan, whatever you want.
Yeah, it's a good point, because we've talked to Brian every year now for several years. So we have some questions that we can still ask, but and he's pretty open to answering questions within reason. So any questions you may have about officiating is a great point. We'd love to have some in our arsenal before we talk to him. Okay, we have See You Later Big Grits from Scott Forbes and from Elizabeth Culton. we messed up and didn't get it from Annika Yarligata. That was just a fumble on our part, Adam.
Certainly not Annika's fault.
No. Adam, 50 Cent was upside down in the original video.
Right.
Dummy. So we're going to get a see you later, Big Grits, from Scott Forbes, Elizabeth Culton, and, of course, the Riz is there, too, to get us out of here on the latest edition of the Carolina Insider.
Scott Forbes, and I expect to see your Big Grits at the Bosch.
I'm Elizabeth Colton. See you later, Big Grits.
When I was small, we had nothing at all. We used to eat grits for dinner.
Pound box of sugar and a stick of margarine. A hot pot of grits kept my family from starving. Steamy hot meal served less than 5 minutes. Big silver pot, boiling water, salt in it. House full of brothers and sisters, the pot's missing. Pilgrim on a box on the stove in the kitchen.
When I was small, we had nothing at all. We used to eat grits for dinner.
See you later, Big Green.
The preceding has been a Learfield presentation of the Tar Heels Sports Network.